how did all that start in 1986? I mean,
when I joined the band, it was really weird because I really didn't have any plans on joining Europe at all. There were competition, to be quite frank. I was in another band called Easy Action, and we were doing really well. And what happened was in 1985, or maybe even earlier, 1986, we did like a charity, a fundraiser thing for and the topic that back then was the starving people in Ethiopia. They were forecasting a horrible uh, starvation episode in Ethiopia. So I gathered all the hard rock people, all the hard rock bands in Sweden, and it was a big underground scene back in 1985, 86. And Joey wrote a song. I just knew him from being the lead singer in the band Europe, and he knew me from being the guitar player in Easy Action. And we worked on that. I produced the thing and he wrote the song, and that turned out really well. And I think that's why they called me when they needed the replacement from the first guitar player, John Norum, because that worked out really well and they had a chance to check out my skills without any auditions or stuff like that. So I just got a call from the manager, the then manager, and he asked me if I wanted to join Europe, and I said no, not at all. And he asked me why. I mean, first of all, I was a bit shocked because I was 100% convinced that he was calling me to offer Easy Action the same kind of deal he just did with Europe and Sony in America. So in my mind, that was the only reason I could think of Europe's manager calling me. And then he asked me, do you want to play in Europe? Norum is out. So I said no, because that wasn't not in my plans. And he said, well, give me a call after the weekend. This was on a Friday. Give me a call after the weekend, see how you feel. And I spent the weekend thinking about this. And mind you, Europe wasn't as big then as they became later. I mean, this was in the beginning, It was really big in Sweden, and it started to happen out in the EU. And they did some stuff in Japan on the first album, but it was not that mega thing yet, But then on Monday, I finally said yes. And this was really weird because I figured out this is going to be a great combination, because I also got the chance to work with Tempest when we did that record, so I knew that was not going to be difficult. So I jumped on that wagon, and it was really weird, just a phone call away. And then a couple of days later, I just started rehearsing with the band for the new world tour, which was the Final Countdown world tour. And while we were at rehearsals, the venues just seemed to grow because the single was climbing, As the single was climbing, the venues just grew and grew and grew. And, what was originally meant to be a big rock clubs and theater tour turned out to be the biggest arenas around the world. And that was unbelievable, to be able to just all of a sudden be part of a project, a band like this, and we play on all the dream arenas I had all over the world. That was an amazing time. And then straight into the studio after that. I mean, it was not a lot of room for contemplation or thinking, what have I done? It was just get on it, We're gonna do this tour. Okay, now we're gonna do that. Okay, next album, let's write some songs. It was like bam, 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 bam. But a lot of fun, obviously.
With the Final Countdown, it was I'm born in the 90s and lived through the 2000s, and I don't know how I would have thought that being that I wouldn't even. Most of my music is literally 80s, early 70s, 80s, what I like to call the proper era for
right, the proper era. You got it.
And ironically, that's also roughly around the time when I started playing drums as well. I started official lessons at the age of 7, but I was already doing it from the moment I could hit things. But yeah, that and I've it's been literally a journey. Mine with starting with Europe and then ending with I don't quite know how we get from Europe rock era right the way through. Now I listen to things like Michael Jackson. I mean, I listen to the drum from that. I mean, like, I don't know how I get from here to there. Obviously, I've arrived, but I don't know how that's even possible. But
it's not that far away. I mean, and actually, at one time, the whole band of Europe, or most of the guys in the band anyway, we were on tour in Japan, and the guy Kevin Elson, the producer of the album, The Final Countdown, he gave us a call. He called me on the hotel room and said, "I'm doing the front of house for Michael Jackson on the Tokyo Dome tomorrow night. Do you want to come?" And of course we wanted to come. So we actually all went and saw Michael Jackson.
So
right after the Bad album, actually.
Your name, Joe's name, obviously not your given names, but how do we get from your name to your what you're known as? And they're sort of okay. So Kee is nearer to your name than Marcello is, which is completely the opposite direction. How does that even work?
I mean, imagine if my parents would have given me those names. They would have been, I mean, an Italian first name, an Italian last name, Marcello, and a Chinese first name, Kee. That would have been mental. No, but the thing is, I used to be in a band called Kee and the Kick, Kee and the Kick.
Right.
And in that band, I was not Kee. That was a female singer named Kee Muller. And I was the guitar player. And people being lazy, when I started hanging at bars and rock clubs in Stockholm, everybody asked, who's that new guy? Who's the guy hanging in the bar with the dark hair? Well, that's the guy from Kee and the Kick. And at the end it became, well, that's Kee. So all of a sudden, automatically, I became Kee. So a lot of people called me Kee already. And then when it was time for Easy Action's debut mini LP, the bass player Pio Terren, he actually told me, you got to have a last name as well. And so I was reading a lot of Mario Puzo back in the day, The Godfather, you know.
Ah, yes, yeah, great movie.
So I just picked the most mean mafioso gangster I can find in history and stole his name.
Dear God.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're still here and they haven't found you yet. But sorry, my dog is itching. Yeah, so you started with Easy Action, went to Europe, and then you did another project, and now you're doing solo. How long have you been solo?
Well, it depends how you count. I did my first solo album in '95 already, so that's when the idea started to do that, and I toured with that album. It was called Shine On, but then I joined other bands back and forth after that, different collaborations. But I still count Shine On as the first solo album of the 5 I've done so far, So it's been a bit back and forth into projects, solo bands, which I like. I don't like it when it's the same all over and over again. I need variation. Otherwise I easily get bored, And I need variation. That's really it.
Your Europe stint though was was very brief. It was only one record.
What was that?
Your your Europe stint was pretty short. It was only 1986 record.
No, it was. I did 2 records for Europe.
Ah,
It was. I joined in October '96. I did the Final Countdown World Tour, and then we recorded "Out of This World," released in 1988.
ah,
And after that, we all moved to America, and we released "Prisoners in Paradise" in 1991. Yes, yeah.
yes, I remember that one.
Yeah. And in '93 we called it hiatus. So you're right.
Yeah.
That was only 7 years in the band, you know, but 7 very influential years, I would say. And I learned a lot those 7 years.
So what are you are you writing any more materials or I was actually going to actually put on this video the final countdown, but then a theme song, but as a background. But then I don't want UMG to say nope, or Warner Brothers to say you can't do that.
Well, you can with my permission, you can use the versions from my album Redux Europe. You can go there, and I did re-recordings of a lot of stuff from my past, Easy Action Europe and stuff like that, and you can find it on that album. So that will be a solution to your problem instead of getting reported.
Because everything when you upload to YouTube now, they're on it. Literally,
Yeah.
they
Oh
are on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're scared shitless of being sued because if everybody would sue YouTube, not even Google, who owns them, would manage to survive that because yeah,
But
they're
with
scared.
with all these copyright and I think personally it's gone a bit crazy. Really, because if you think about it, if artists, if upcoming people, musicians want to cover your songs, I would say, great, it's a form of flattery. I'll take that. It means that the rock is not going to die like Gene Simmons thinks it will be. And personally, if it was me, and if I was controlling the copyright on any record labels, I would actually say, hang on a minute, these songs are being heard by the younger generation because the younger generation are playing them. So why are we?
I know what you're saying. I mean, copyright is crazy right now, and there's also, I mean, there's an option. I mean, I have my own YouTube channel,
Yeah,
and there's an option. You can let anybody publish the video. There's just a box you tick within, I mean, the settings. So
yeah.
that's something you could do if you want to really give something to the fans. But I think Gene and Paul, they're counting their bitcoins for sure.
It's also not them anymore. I mean, if you're part of a band, when you've written a song, you recorded the song, how much of the say do you have after that on what is used, or does the record label say it's now our control, our stuff? You can you've done your bit now, sod off.
Yeah, do you mean you mean if I
If you
go to a
record something
record
with,
label?
if you record something with I don't know any of the record labels and like John Fogerty had to prove that he sung on his own album. He had to prove his own voice was not a cover
I
in
know.
court.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have a similar problem. I try to upload the official Superstitious video. That's one of my most famous guitar works
Yeah.
that I did with Europe. And it's me playing, and you can see it clearly in the video and everything. And I got a reprimand from Sony Music. This is our property, and they took it away. I got a warning from YouTube too. So that's something we're still in dispute over. I mean, obviously, I gotta have the right to publish material
Yeah.
I perform, and even sometimes even have written myself. It's ridiculous, but that's the way it works with big companies, and that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people don't not to work with labels anymore. I mean, a lot of people do the whole thing themselves. So do I. I mean. The singles from the coming album, I've been working with an aggregator. I invested the money to do all the recordings myself, and then mixed and mastered it, and recorded, mixed and mastered with. Had this great guy Jake in Top Floor Studios in Gothenburg who records and mixes, and a friend of mine is mastering it. The guy I've been working with since the Shine On album, actually, since 1995. CRP mastering. So I do that, and then I use the aggregator and just upload it to digital platforms, and I don't have to deal with record company executives and fucking A&Rs. I hate A&Rs.
Well, digital platforms, for the artists, are not that great.
No. Oh, sorry, come again?
Digital platforms, the pay.
Oh no, I mean the pay is horrible.
Awful.
It's awful. I mean, but you gotta be everywhere. You can make money on YouTube and Insta and TikTok. I mean, it's just a matter of. I mean, Spotify, what they're paying per stream is outrageous. I think it's like 0.036 euros, which is ridiculous per stream, which means you need billions to make a business out of it. If you want, at least if you want to, hundreds of millions, maybe billions, if you want to make a business out of it. And
So
it's the way it works.
So your shows, well, that would explain why anyone's shows really the prices are through the roof, because the streaming services are destroying the industry.
It is, and that's also the reason why there's so much competition about the festival tickets. I mean, the festival bills, roasters, and just selling tickets in general, because everybody needs to play live to make any money, because you can't download that. That's the real thing. You got to go and experience the band or the performer live, and you have to pay a ticket price for that still. So that's the way. But it had the consequence that a lot of bands, or all the bands, are touring at the same time. So there's actually too many bands out on the road at the same time to make it profitable for everybody.
I can't help noticing your records behind you. I keep glancing up at them. Are they from your solo stuff, or are they from?
Oh, these?
Yes.
No, this is the old wall. My wall is over there. This is the 80s wall.
Oh.
And can you see this? No, you can't.
No. I can see. Oh, there we go.
That's really interesting. You see, that's actually a cassette.
Yeah.
A platinum cassette. That's.
I didn't even know they made those.
No, that's from 1988, and that's my first million in America, and so that's very special.
Wow.
But that was crazy. I mean, they even have platinum awards with the 8-track, you know, because the big cassettes they used to have in the cars.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They have
Yeah.
platforms for everything. Yeah.
8-tracks were great. However,
Yes.
cassettes were annoying when you played them over and over again, and then you found that the machine had eaten them.
Yeah. That was not a great feeling, eh?
But it seems like in the music industry we've now gone full circle. We're now back at vinyl again. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, vinyl is coming on big, in a bit of a different shape. I must say. I mean, it's a lot of people buy my vinyls as sort of a souvenir, you know, after the gig, you know. It's like Todd Rundgren sings in that song "Buy My Tea." He's singing
yeah,
about merchandise. Uh, you you can rip off my music, but you got to buy my tea. That's a good line. The thing is, that's another thing which is really important to musicians of today, to
yeah.
have a big merchandise store when you're out, sell your records, and people actually buy CDs and vinyls especially. Uh, I can't imagine all the people buying my vinyls have actual vinyl players, but
I certainly don't.
it's also really nice, like artwork
Yeah,
on the wall. It could be, you know. So I think my records are in a lot of man caves around the world, just as decoration. But I don't mind, you know. Why not?
now when you were in Europe for 1986, I believe you did Rock the Night as well, which was another big one.
Yeah.
Always a tricky question. This for always a tricky answer. Who gave the who wrote them, and or did you collectively state, right, we're not going to do this, we're going to split it between the band members?
Oh, you mean the
Yes.
songwriting credits?
Who would get the bigger? Yeah. Did you do who would get the bigger cut, or did you dispense with all that crap and just say we're going to
No,
split it between the band members?
I know. And during my time in the band, I mean, the songs I wrote, I got copyright for, and that was very divided. I can only remember one song where we split everything between the band members, and that's a song called "Yesterday's News," which is actually not on an actual album. It's on a lot of best of albums and collections and so and all that, and it became a popular song because it really worked well live. And on that particular song, you can see all the names of
Yeah.
the guys in Europe as composers and lyric writers, but otherwise it was really divided. Nobody thought like that back then. I mean, nowadays I think a, a lot more people are open to the idea of splitting everything.
Yeah.
If, Imagine you're like 5 people in a band, and there's so limited sources of getting you know, to get to bring the bacon in, so to speak, so for everybody to invest personally and musically in the band, in the project together, they need the same kind of fee. Otherwise it's not going to be able to, you know, they're not going to be
Yeah.
able to make it happen. It was different back in the 80s, because those record companies, if you cut a record company deal, you got a great advance that the band could start living out of, and, you know, getting salaries off, you know, while planning for tours and record releases and all that. So it's a different scenario altogether. Of course, the money they gave to the
Yeah.
band was their own. It was just a really bad bank loan. If we would have
Always
known
is
better, we could have just gone
always
to
is
the
with
bank.
record labels. Always is with record labels. I see record labels as loan sharks,
They
essentially.
are. They are loan sharks. That's exactly what they were. Definitely, glorified loan sharks.
So with regarding the final countdown, who's got is there is it split for is it split or is it
Oh
Reverend,
no, no,
is it Jerry and the rest?
and you have to know, I wasn't in the band when that song was written. That was
Oh,
before I entered the band. But I happen to know that that song is written, music and lyrics by Tempest. So he
ah.
gets all the final count on money, the copyright money from that. So
So every time, so if you ever perform that live, which I'm sure you have done solo, you have to ask his permission.
no, no, I mean, we're not enemies or anything. I
Ah,
mean, I guess we could give each other hell if we want to, but we don't see a point in doing
yeah.
that. And we still work together. We're actually working on a Europe documentary that comes out this summer, which is the
Ooh.
first real in-depth documentary of the band ever made, I would say. The only one the only documentary I can think of which was any good by the band was a video. It was released on VHS. It was called Europe in America, and which was. Have you seen this one? No,
No, no.
no. It was a Swedish guy, a film director who followed us on our first US tour and filmed the whole thing. But this is the first attempt since then to do something, well, actually the first attempt ever to do something serious,
Would you guys ever do what Motley Crue did with the a slightly more accurate version of The Dirt, what they did with the what they did with Hollywood, and they made a movie of Motley.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all.
And of course, then you got Bohemian Rhapsody as well, Nathan Queen, which
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that one is
that was
amazing.
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
that actor.
would Europe ever do something like that?
I don't know. Actually, when I released my book about 10 years ago, it's called. It was only released in Swedish, but I was talking to a film company of turning into movies, but there was a lot of we ran into a lot of problems when it came to copyrights, you know. So, and in the end, we just realized it was going to be too expensive and too many wills, too many different opinions. So we just let it go. But that's the only time I've been in talks with people about a motion picture, but who knows? One day, perhaps. After
Because
this documentary.
I for one would love to see that. We'd love to see a movie from the start of the band and in a slightly less comical way than Twisted Sisters videos.
Yeah, Twisted Sister is half comedy, isn't it? But
Yeah, it is half comedy.
my bad Easy Action actually did a tour with Twisted Sister years and years ago. It must have been 2006, I guess.
Ah, yes, that's when they
And
released.
I can't remember. But the thing is, he was on stage delivering every night. He's a great singer, and he can really sing.
They are a great band. I mean, what he did for Stand Up to Cancer when he did a piano version of "We're Not Gonna Take It," the slow ballad
Um,
version. That was beautiful.
I didn't see that. That's amazing. Yeah, no, I missed that. That's great.
Um, but I mean, what's Europe's state at the moment? Because someone asked me before they went today, are they broken up? Is it the end of what's going on there? I mean,
With Europe?
yes. Is it done now or
No, I mean they're still doing it, you know. But I'm not going to be in it, but they're still doing it for sure, you
Are
know.
you well? You said you weren't going to be in it the first time, and then you ended up joining. So
No, I've paid my dues in that band. I'm retired from that band. So, but
and,
they're still out there. They're rocking.
and when's your next? When's your next plan and your next gigs around? Of course, navigating what we've now done with Brexit is probably
Yeah.
not makes it easier for you.
No, I did a festival in the UK 2 weeks ago. It was called Hard Rock Hell in Great Yarmouth. Um, it was a lot of fun. But the next stop is actually China. I'm doing 2 masterclasses in Beijing and Shanghai. So that's going to be interesting. And 2 masterclasses, 2 stops in China. After that, I have a couple of gigs. I'm still doing this
Yeah,
this tour. We're doing a couple of festivals this summer, but and also in the same time I'm working on my new solo album. So it's not gonna start picking up until this fall when it's gonna be a lot. We're gonna do the EU,
yeah.
perhaps the UK. I don't know yet. The whole of EU, and then we're doing South America, and we're talking about Asia and see how much we can fit into the fall. So it's going to be a lot of touring this fall.
And a lot of legal stuff to get through as well. I take it.
No. I mean, I got permission for everything I'm doing, so I don't.
I'm talking about the visas and the travel and stuff.
Oh yeah, well, definitely, yeah, for sure.
Um,
I mean, the thing is, I don't know if you heard about it, but the British punk band UK Subs, they came to was it LA a couple of weekends ago, and they were supposed to perform at a punk festival, and they
yeah.
got stopped in immigration and jailed and sent back. I mean, that means probably I can't go to the States. So we'll see what happens with that. And also, it's not that easy to get into the UK anymore since you're not in. It's after Brexit. It's a pain, you know, because you need a lot of paperwork to
But
tour in the UK.
because you lived in America a long
Yeah,
time, did you surrender the citizenship, or are you still if you still got? Because then if you still got it, you technically would not. You technically might not get turned away.
a green card.
Yeah,
Yeah, I never applied for one. I mean, we had temporary working permits when we were there on tour, but it's a different thing to get a green card, you know, and you got to sustain it. And I've been living in Sweden ever since, so
yeah.
it was never on my list of things to do. But uh, but now things are getting rough. But I mean, going back to the UK, I did 3 UK tours the last 10 years, and that was so easy when you were in the EU. It was just like
Yeah.
going to Norway or something. It was very easy, but now it's a different thing. You need all these permits and yeah, it's a pain. I'm not taking care of that, luckily, but it costs a lot of unnecessary money and it's time consuming as hell.